Hello, Amber Ludwig here, your online business development coach from AuthenticLeaderAcademy.com. And I just want to thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Authentic Leader Q&A. And today's question comes from Dan Butler.
Hey Amber, Dan Butler from Love Effing Works. How you doing? This is a great little thing here, and I might use this more than you'd like. Anyway, hey, I was just wondering, I have a 10 by 10 by 4 content strategy that I'm using through, with Mike Koenig's and Instant Customer and Traffic Geyser. But I was wondering kind of an overall content strategy, how you go about planning your year, your quarter, your half year, or even a month. And just, as it relates to social media, email list, that sort of thing. It would be great to get your kind of wizardry on that, because you're always dripping some good stuff. So that's it. Yeah, cool.
My wizardry. Thank you, Dan, and I am happy to answer this question. It's a little bit more involved, so you may want to take out a pen and piece of paper, jot down some notes. What I do is I take a full day, sometimes two, every December when things are a little bit more quiet, closer to Christmas, and I do a full intensive business planning session. Sometimes I'll bring a mentor and fly them in, or a colleague, and sometimes I'll just sit down with myself and some great music and some calm energy, and I just plan and I get really creative. I buy one of those huge jumbo wall calendars from Office Max that separates it by month in those big square boxes. I love the jumbo calendar. Sometimes I have to buy two because I'm changing things. Always best to use pencil first. But then what I do is I map out my whole year, and then from there it kind of maps out into my quarter or month or week or whatever. So let's talk about it. First of all, bigger concepts. Here are the things that I go through. I want to make sure that I have a free structure, a growth structure, and a monetary structure. Okay, so here's what I mean by that. In my free column, what are all of the ways that I want to give out content for free in order to build my following, to attract more clients? What are the pillars, or I like to call them the pillars that happen in my business every single week, no matter what, my free content? Well, first and foremost, blogging. I am a huge blogging advocate. I think you are nuts if you're not blogging religiously in your business. I think it's one of the smartest ways to grow long term, the best ways to build a following and showcase your expertise. But since this Q&A is not about blogging, and we'll cover that on some other episode, or I've got videos all over my YouTube channel, definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel and you'll get tons of valuable content and training. But I always map in when I'm going to be doing my blog posts. For this particular year, I decided to do one blog post a week. If you are just getting started in your business, I would really encourage you to be posting at least 2 to 3 times a week in your website so that you can build that momentum and gain traction. I'm at a little bit different place in my business where I already have that momentum built and I can focus on growing and scaling that. So for me, once a week is good. However, I can tell you that while that's what I planned in December, I've already started posting probably more like 2 times a week in my business because I'm really in that growth phase as well. So that can vary, but at the very bare bones minimum, once a week. And you can decide what day that is. I really believe that every entrepreneur should have a schedule just like you did in high school. What day and what time are you going to be creating that blog post and publishing it out to your community? The second pillar I would say is your email marketing, and I know that you brought that up in your question. I decided at the beginning of the year to send out a weekly email every Thursday to my email list. And that weekly email would have a video where I'm training on a particular topic. I would promote upcoming summits that I'm a part of, or upcoming webinars that I'm hosting, or a product launch. So something promotional, something that people can buy into. And then I have my bio always listed, and I always share some sort of personalized, current, inspirational message or training message or giving people insight into my business. I think that email that you send out to your list, whether it's every week or bi-weekly or monthly, is one of the most important areas to spend your time, because you want to retain that list. You don't want a bunch of unsubscribes. You want this list or this group of people to be what really ultimately springs into your client base. If you're giving that extra value, if you're going above and beyond, you're going to get a whole lot more clients out of it. And so really spend time, make sure that that email rocks. If you're just getting started in your business, I would suggest you to send an email to your list once a month. Now, Dan, I just happen to know that you do a podcast. It might make sense for you to be sending out an email to your list once a week. That way you can have people on your podcast, episodes that have just been released, any blog posts that you're doing, any promotions that you're running, and some sort of personalized message from you. And it's probably going to take you 30 to 60 minutes to create this email, but again, it's worth it because this is where you get customers for life, is out of that email list. And you don't even have to have a very big email list in order to produce serious, awesome results with that email list, so keep that in mind. The third pillar is your social media. This has to happen every single day in your business. If you don't understand social media, or you don't like social media, or you're just avoiding it like the plague, that's a serious issue that needs to be resolved in your business. Never before have you experienced an opportunity where you can get clients for all around the world for free. I mean, this is an incredible opportunity to build relationships, make connections, long-lasting joint venture partnerships, whatever it is, and it all comes from being social on social media. I try to make about 2 to 3 posts a day on all of the different networks that I'm on, and you can do some cross-promoting, meaning that some of the posts that I'll put on Facebook, I can just copy and paste those to LinkedIn and Google Plus and slightly adjust it for Twitter. So you really can repurpose that content, but consistency is everything. You have to get consistent in your business to condition your audience on what to expect from you. So in December, like I mentioned, I decided to do 1 blog post a week, 1 email a week, and I was on social media every business day about 2 to 3 times a day. Not only making my own posts, but then also engaging on other people's posts. On my YouTube channel, I have a 30-minute training video on the deadliest mistakes you're making on social media. I would really encourage you to go watch that video to get comfortable with social media and learn how to leverage it for your advantage. So I would say that, Dan, those are the 3 things you always want in your business every week in your schedule for the whole entire year. Those are really important. And additionally for you, you would have your podcast in there, which is a great method to train people, build collaboration, build community and engagement, etc. So for you, you might say that every Monday you're going to be doing your podcast interviews, and then it's going to publish every Thursday. Don't miss a day. Always, again, it's about conditioning your audience. From there, once I have my staples and my pillars kind of lined up in my calendar, then there's all kinds of other room to grow and make additional income for my company. It really depends on how much time you have, which would determine what other activities you do in your business. But for example, let's talk about growth. I would be thinking to myself, when can I do webinars throughout the year? If you are new in business, I would suggest, or even if you've been around for a while, I would suggest you to do at least 1 live webinar a quarter. So you can decide when that is. Maybe it's every 4th month or every 3rd month or something like that, that you decide to host a live webinar for your audience. And what I would encourage you to do is have the first 30 or so minutes be training and the last 30 minutes be a live Q&A. Your audience really wants to hear from you. They want to feel connected to you. And a live Q&A session is an awesome way to whet their appetites, convert to more customers, give them the value that they want, and really make sure that you have that continued loyalty in your business. Now, if you decide to use that webinar as a platform to sell something like a product or a program, then you may want to adjust that a little bit. Maybe it's 30 or 40 minutes of training, then you pitch your product or program, and maybe you have a Q&A or maybe you don't. That's something that you can think about. But regardless, in terms of your content plan, make sure that you have live webinars in there. And I would encourage you to use Google Hangouts on Air. And my authenticleaderacademy.com, it's a membership website where I have all of these training videos on how to grow your business online, whether it's strategy-based videos or screencast videos where I'm walking you through step by step by step how to execute those strategies. And I bring this up because I have a whole video all about Google Hangouts on Air, how to use them for live webinars and set up the replays, to how to use it to create video just like what we're doing here. And so, any opportunity that you get to learn Google Hangouts on Air, take it. If you want to learn from me, that's authenticleaderacademy.com. However, it's just important that you're doing the webinars because, again, it's a great way for people to connect with you, and it's a great way for you to condition your audience. So you're going to have to remove any fears that you have around running webinars. Another thing that I have in my growth column is guest blogging. This is not an activity that I do every single week or necessarily every single month, but guest blogging and getting interviewed on other people's podcasts are two really big priorities for me, because with those opportunities, I'm leveraging pre-existing networks and communities, and I'm bringing those communities on board to what I'm doing with my social networks and into my website and into my sales funnel. I just basically try to work those in depending on how my month shapes up. In my particular business, I have months that are really busy with client calls and coaching calls and months that are slower. On the months that are a little bit slower, I definitely take advantage of that time by getting caught up or even going overboard on content creation. Then I can leverage that on the times that I'm busier during the year and publish those blog posts or get on podcast interviews at that point or whatever. But that ultimately gives me a consistent flow of traffic into my website because I've mapped that out ahead of time. Or another thing that could be included in that is getting interviewed on other people's summits. For example, just this past week, I've been interviewed on 2 different summits where they each had more than 20 20 speakers on each summit. So that's essentially 40 speakers that are going out there and promoting me and themselves and the other speakers, but that's 40 people that had bigger networks that now I can leverage back into my own. Collaboration is a great, great tool for growth. So I kind of plan that in as it comes up, but those are a little bit more loose. I don't necessarily have a schedule for that. And then the third column is my money-making column. And this should be a really strong focus for you, because if you're not making enough money in your business, how can you sustain the message? You don't want to have another job while you're trying to create this business that impacts the world. That's why money-making activities are going to be really important. If you have any kind of issues or mindset concerns about money and making money in your business, then that definitely needs to be addressed. It's nothing that you should feel bad about. You shouldn't feel bad about charging people for the value that they receive, whether it be through your products or your programs or your coaching, your done-for-you services, etc. Now, in my particular business, I have a slew of done-for-you services. I don't really necessarily map out anything in my schedule for that particular activity, because all of that free content that I've mentioned earlier in this answer funnels people into my done-for-you services. However, I do have to plan time for my product or program creation. For example, in December, I mapped out that I wanted to do a live 8-week online course, and it was going to be taking you from being an authentic messenger, so somebody that has a message they want to share with the world, and developing you into becoming an authentic leader, so someone who's leading a movement, right? Or a tribe or a community or whatever it is. And what I did is I mapped out when would be the best times to offer this course. And I decided that I would create the 8-week course live in spring, and then I would do another one in the fall. And I didn't want to pack in too much into my schedule, because you also have to keep in mind for the unknown. But I work full-time in my business, so I am able to take on a little bit more than somebody who's only working part-time in their business. I did decide to do those 2 live course modules, and then I decided to launch my Academy website, as I mentioned earlier. So you can kind of just, that's the beauty of doing that yearly calendar, is you can take a look at, okay, if I do my 8-week online course from April to May, then I want a little bit of a break because I'm going to want to break from promoting anything. I want to break from teaching or being committed to something. And so I might take a month off where I don't have anything scheduled. But then boom, and the next month I might have a webinar that upsells into a mastermind that I'm doing or something like that. And then I know that as soon as that's complete, I want a little break there until I jump into my next 8-week live course. So I really, when I'm sitting down to think about my content plan, I look at it for the year. If you're just starting and it's the middle of the year or whatever time it is based on when you listen to this, you can start now and map out the next calendar year to whatever today is for you listening to this answer. And then you can look at, when am I going to do my webinars? When do I want to launch a program? When could I do my blog posts, my social media? When am I going to send out my emails to my email list? And then you can just kind of filter in maybe goals for guest blogging or how many podcast interviews you're going to be interviewed on, or featured on. And you can just kind of see how it all works together. And I literally write all of that out into my calendar. And when I rip off the calendar to look at my new month, I dive back in, I look at everything that I want to accomplish that month and see if there's anything that I need to add or subtract to that month based on whatever shifts have occurred in my business. Because yes, you can plan out a year, but that's a long time and a lot can change in your business. So just know it doesn't have to be concrete. From there, at the month view, every week, I write out what I'm going to do for that week in my to-do list and break it down by day, etc. So again, hopefully that helps. I really look at the free content that I'm giving away, when I can have engagement with my audience, money-making activities, and then how it's all going to form together based on how much time I have in my business. Hopefully that helped answer your question, Dan. I welcome any other questions that you have. I'll never get sick of you asking them. And I just want to thank you for your time and look forward to seeing your results as a result of listening to this Q&A. Thanks a lot.